So here we go. So this is the Green Knight. One Christmas day in Camelot, Sir Gawain gazed upon the merry faces of King Arthur and Queen Guinevere. Around him, at a great table with no head and no foot, sat the most chivalrous and courteous knights that were ever known. Gawain pecked a bird's portion of the fine feast before him, as he listened to a year's tales of the prowess and honour of his brother knights. His own adventures seemed commonplace by comparison, so he kept his own counsel and prayed nobody would invite him to speak. The doors of the mighty hall swung open, and who should appear but a green giant, riding upon a gigantic green war-horse. The knights leapt to their feet and unsheathed their swords as one, but the armoured giant showed no fear. In one hand this stranger held a sprig of holly, and in the other an enormous axe. While the king and his knights stood agog, the Green Knight stepped down from his horse, lay his burdens on the floor, and knelt before them. Good King Arthur and your knights so fair, who among you would take my dare? Deliver a blow, I'll make no defence, but receive the same 1 year hence. Gawain begged for the chance to show his mettle. Guinevere touched his hand and said, Nephew, son, do not be hasty. I fear this is not a game to test your strength. King Arthur laughed at his queen's concern. Heed not your gentle aunt, my son. Strike true and end this devil's game with a single stroke. Gawain snatched up the great axe. Spurred on by his king and fellow knights, he brought down the axe on the Green Knight's neck and chopped off his head with one clean blow. A fountain of green sprayed upon the floor. Arthur's knights cheered and banged their goblets upon the famous table, but fell silent when laughter leapt from the lips of the severed head and echoed through the hall. The stricken knight snatched up his head by the hair and said, A blow for a blow, I've had mine. Next year at the Green Chapel, you collect thine. The knight mounted his horse once more and rode out of the hall. True to the terms of the challenge, Gawain rode out from Camelot before Christmas the next year, heading north, chasing rumours of the mysterious Green Chapel. The way was beset with robbers and monsters, but Gawain bested them all in combat better imagined than described. After his ordeal, he stopped at a beautiful castle at the border, where Christmas festivities were well underway. Lord Bertilac greeted Gawain with great enthusiasm and invited him to stay for as long as he wished. He introduced Gawain to his beautiful wife, the lady of the house, and the feasting resumed. Gawain told Lord Bertilac and his guests about the journey and the Christmas game. All listened spellbound, especially Lady Bertilac, who seldom left his side. Sir Gawain, said Lord Bertilac, since I cannot convince you to keep your head, let me feast you proper here in my hall. Take your rest, for the chapel you seek is a short ride away. You can meet your fate on Christmas Day. But fun for now is no mark of shame. I propose over the next 3 days a game. I shall hunt outside this house and you shall hunt within. Each night where we shall exchange our spoils, so both of us shall win. On the first morning, Gawain lay in bed as the Lord rode out to hunt with his guests. While hooves thundered over the countryside, Gawain's chamber door creaked open. Lady Bertilac knelt by his bed and said, Sir Gawain, before you meet your fate, let me slip into your bed that I might test your weight. Gawain leapt from the bed at once and said upon his honour, The lady has her lord, and so he could not climb upon her. The lady said, As you wish, but courtesy demands that you grant your host a single kiss. My face must be repulsive if you deny me this. Gawain kissed the fair lady upon her cheek. She gave him the same, then left his chamber pacified. At the night's feast, Lord Bertilac presented Gawain with the antlers of a stag he had caught. What treasures have you for me? Gawain said, Nothing so grand as your gift, lord, but it was one with honour. He threw his arms around Bertilac and kissed him on the cheek. Bertilac returned the young knight's kiss and said, A wondrous gift, surely a kiss to covet. I wonder where it was discovered. He wagged his finger at the ladies sat about the feasting table, and his laughter echoed round the hall. On the second morning, Gawain lay in bed as the Lord rode out to hunt. As bugles blared across the countryside, Gawain's chamber door creaked open. Lady Bertilac knelt by his bed and said, Sir Gawain, you are soon to be slain. Have you no trinket to spare me my pain? Gawain sat up and stroked the lady's tear-streaked cheek. I beg your forgiveness, my lady. I am equipped to wage war, and have no gifts worthy of your beauty. The true Gawain would dry my eyes, and if he found me fair, his courtesy would not deny the pleasure of my thighs. The knight protested, I am the true Gawain, and I cannot dishonour your lord. Though my lance is set in rest and fit to joust, you must not tempt me so. The lady sat on the edge of the bed and rested her hand on Gawain's chest. Never fear, you would keep your honour whole. Do as you will, I shan't tell a soul. Ah, Gawain said, this is why it can never be. Chivalry demands my deeds must never go untold. The lady settled for 2 kisses and left pacified. At the night's feast, Lord Bertilac presented Gawain with the prize of a great boar's head. Gawain bestowed upon his host 2 kisses. Now the kiss is grown to 2. As I stalk beasts, who stalks you? The Lord again wagged a finger at the gathered ladies in playful accusation. Tomorrow let the kisses come in 3s, or God forbid I'll be on my knees. On the 3rd morning, while the Lord's hounds bayed through the countryside, Gawain's chamber door creaked open. Lady Bertilac knelt by the bed and said, Sir Gawain, you need not be slain. This magic belt I freely give will ensure that you shall live. Take it, and your story will continue. Gawain unfastened the belt and drew it from the lady's garment. Her robe parted, and Gawain fought to resist the smooth white curves now exposed to him. Out in the snow-heaped hills, Lord Bertilac ran a spear into a fox. Within the castle, Lady Bertilac conquered a knight. At the night's feast, Lord Bertilac presented Gawain with the prize of a fox fur to protect your neck from the cold. Gawain hung his head and wiped a tear from his cheek. You have brought such light to these my darkest days, my lord. He kissed his host 3 times. If I could surrender my heart to your hands, I would, but it must drum me to my destiny, which demands me in the morning. Young Sir Knight, you have granted me a treasure, simply by your presence. King Arthur's riches are the pleasure he takes from you, his only son. May your bloodline live forever. In the morning, Gawain rose early to the sound of heavy hooves hammering across the countryside. His chamber door creaked open, and Lady Bertilac stepped inside. My armour, shield, and sword I shall entrust to you, my lady. My journey is short now, and my needs very little, unless God sees fit to spare me. I ride with only the fur and your gift. Should your blessing be true, my tools shall see great adventures once this day has passed. The lady kissed his forehead and said, Ride, Sir Gawain, ride out to glory. Next Christmas all shall know your story. It never ends. A servant led Gawain to a moss-covered structure of crumbling rock and rotten timber, a parody of a church. Gawain tightened the belt, crossed himself 3 times, then stepped inside to find the colossal Green Knight, his head reattached, whetting his axe on an altar of cracked stone. You came, young Gawain, to conclude our game, the Green Knight called. Gawain knelt before the giant and pulled the fox fur away to reveal his neck. The Green Knight cleaved the air with his axe. But first we conclude our other game. Gawain looked up and watched the green pigment fading from the knight's hair and skin. His mighty frame receded, and the giant melted into the form of Lord Bertilac. I was cursed by your aunt Morgan le Fay, but you have made her my family and broken her spell. On the first day you took a kiss and gave me the same. Bertilac pressed the axe blade against Gawain's cheek and nicked his skin. The second day, 2 kisses. Bertilac nicked his face again, then placed a 3rd cut on the opposite cheek. He raised the axe above his head, and on the third day you took the love of my life, and in doing so gave me yours." Bertlac brought down the axe on Gawain's neck with such force that the knight's head spun up into the air and landed on the altar. The axe blade bit into the ground, and there it stuck, never to be lifted again. The games concluded, Bertlac rode back to his castle, his wife, and the treasure growing in her belly. And that's the end.